I think most people, if you ask them honestly what they thought of or think of vegan food, they will think of, do we need to label it vegan?
Customers aren't as interested in those dishes.
Plant-based food is just food.
What strategies would you use? The misconceptions. How do you feel about meat-free Mondays? What kind of trends do you see coming into this year?
Sometimes you just look at some of the vegan desserts, the amount of sugar there is in there.
Welcome to the Lunch at Work podcast, where we talk to experts about how to make workplaces better.
Preyesh, thank you so much for joining us on our Lunch at Work podcast today. We will be talking all things Veganuary. But before we start, can you just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more about Eat Curious?
So we started the company about 3-4 years ago. We saw plant-based food in this country being very different to what we felt it should be. It was much more about replication of meat rather than it being food for health. We felt there needed to be a change and a shift in what plant-based food should mean. We felt like we could make a difference, and that's kind of why we got involved in what we are doing right now.
Obviously, both of us not being vegan or vegetarian, sometimes this world, plant-based eating or even eating more like a vegan can be quite daunting. To you, what are like the misconceptions that kind of pass people's minds when they think about veganism and so on?
I think most people, if you ask them honestly what they thought of or think of vegan food, they will think of processed food, not healthy, and just basically not as good as the real thing. Definitely an education process now, trying to move people away from the idea that anything vegan potentially is probably unhealthy and over-processed. Sometimes you just look at some of the vegan desserts, the amount of sugar there is in there. Yes, it may not have any dairy in it, but doesn't mean it's healthy for you just from that perspective. So, yeah, we need to educate society that there are more things about plant-based food than just trying to copy meat.
Those plant foods aren't necessarily just fruit and veg, but a big, vast... So you've got your spices, your herbs, even tea and coffee and dark chocolate, like you mentioned, the 30 plant point kind of thing. We massively do that within BM, where we try and look at ways to get more plant points into people's favourite foods. So they might not know straight away, but we're trying to do it health with stealth kind of thing, because I think as soon as you try and make something super healthy or you say, oh, it's really good for you, they tend to back away because they're like, I don't know why it's good for me, and then they become quite worried. So like the misconception around veganism is it's either ultra processed, that it's got lots of salt, sugar and God knows what else in to make it palatable, but there are loads of other things back to basics like beans, pulses and legumes that are just as tasty, just as nutritious. So obviously with Veganuary, how else could we use this month to, as a stepping stone maybe, to make the habit a long-term habit rather than just focusing on it as 1 month?
We want to encourage people to eat more plant-based food. So how about you use Veganuary as a way of introducing more plant-based options on the menu, making sure they look appetising, they're different, and encourage people that way, so that when they go to the restaurant, yes, they can still eat the meat if they want to, but they have in front of them a whole wider range of dishes which they not normally have seen before that might look interesting and appeal to them. You potentially may see more uptake and then continue that. The ones that stick, continue that throughout the months going forward, and then all of a sudden you've almost encouraged people to try different foods out there, rather than saying for this month you can't eat meat, because what will probably end up happening is you'll probably see sales drop off, and then maybe February everyone goes back to what they were eating before, and you haven't actually changed anyone's habits. So I think it's an opportunity to just showcase a wider range of different options on the menu that look appetizing, that are based around plant protein, and different plants, and more focusing more from a health perspective, maybe a carbon footprint saving perspective, than the movement of veganism. I think you're more likely to bring other people in if you phrase it that and frame it that way. And I also just play down. I know vegan is important, that's what this podcast is for, but you don't need to kind of ram it down people's throats that it's Veganuary, we have to only eat vegan food. It's just an opportunity to show people, look, there is different food we can eat out there that looks appetizing, and you may want to try. Here it is, and see what happens. I think that's the best way to approach it.
And I guess it's expanding people's horizons as well, in terms of if you are a meat eater and you just want to think about the sustainability part and think, okay, I really like lasagna, but I want to have that with less meat and try other plant-based alternatives like your lentils and so on, just to bulk it up. It'd probably be a nice stepping stone to introduce those foods into their diets without going full whack and then they're deciding they don't like it. Because I feel like sometimes it's a So a lot of people have an all or nothing kind of behavior where they go full guns blazing and then they retreat really quickly because they're like, oh no, I don't like this, I don't like this. So maybe sometimes if you drip feed it in, so then maybe use Veganuary as that base and then just maybe try your favorites, manipulate them a little bit to be a little bit more sustainable, and then continue that throughout the year to see what other dishes you could maybe change to make it better. Could be quite a good idea. Because you touched on something that we find quite often in BM. As soon as you label a dish, vegan, vegetarian, or use a brand name, they're not really, customers aren't as interested in those dishes. Whereas to me, is there a better approach to go for how we market or how we sell our customers those plant-based dishes? Like you said, not ram it down their throats, but what strategies would you use for other caterers or companies to maybe make those plant-based options a bit more appetizing on the menu?
If you have an aisle in the supermarket labelled the vegan aisle, sales starting to drop off. And it's going back to that analogy when you're in a restaurant and you get a separate menu, that's a vegan menu. You're basically alienating everyone else on that table and no one else is going to look at that menu apart from the vegan by default. So do we need to label it vegan? Yes, you need to have your nutritional labelling and your labelling for those that have dietary requirements. That's absolutely fine, but I don't think you need to make a big fuss about the fact it's vegan. If you had a vegetarian pasta where you put the word vegan on it, it's just pasta, right? It's just food. And so that's the way we look at it. We want to create good quality food. It's just good food that's healthy, that's has plenty of different plant products in there, good quality fibre, good quality protein. And I think you'll probably encourage those that aren't vegan to potentially try it, especially if it looks appetizing. We eat with our eyes, right? So the first thing we do is we see the product, that looks interesting, and let's try it. Whereas if you start labeling everything as vegan, that person's probably going to look at it and then turn left and go somewhere else. And so you almost want to encourage people by just not segregating food, almost keeping it open.
Because one thing that we were thinking about as well is making sure that the way you write the menu isn't like, here's all the meat and here's all the vegetarian and vegan. It's however it's placed on the menu, just let it be, and don't be like, right, we've got to segregate them, just let them merge. And then if people really like, I don't know, the butternut squash and feta tart, then they'll go for that whether it's vegan or not, because that's what they fancy. So that's the dream for VM. I was also thinking when it comes to menus, maybe not having the bog standard where you have the meat and then the vegetarian one after the other straight away. Like maybe mix it up and put the veggie or vegan option first and then so on, because I think we're creatures of habit. So if you are meat, you're going to look for the first line and see what's available for you rather than actually read the full menu itself.
And that's maybe something you could try in Veganuary. So we'll talk about Veganuary being a launch pad for the coming months. So maybe that's what you could do during that month, where you play around with the positioning of items on the menu, increase the number of options as well, but still have your meat options on the menus so that people still have choice, because people want choice. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to almost choose themselves to go a different direction.
I know we kind of touched on maybe Veganuary and going all guns blazing is not the right approach. How do you feel about Meat-Free Mondays? That's been around for however long now. Do you think it works? Do you think it's old hat? Or should we, like we said, have a different approach and drip feed it throughout the week instead?
Yeah, I don't feel that approach will work going forward. I think it's important if you want generally people to uptake more plant-based food on the menu, it's all week. It's every day. It's not designate a certain day, because what will probably happen, you're probably seeing it already in your figures, is people will just choose to eat elsewhere on the Monday. Again, going back to people don't like to be told what to do, but you can encourage them by maybe across the week you have many more plant-based options on the menu. And then all of a sudden people have a choice to make, but they also will see more interesting food, and that's where you may then see them kind of taking up the different options on the menu rather than just forcing them to not eat meat on one day. I'm pretty confident most will just choose that as a work from home. day, or go elsewhere. And I think I don't really feel that approach works well. I think it's every day. Why choose one day? It needs to be every day. And having different options every day always will help, I think.
What other kind of challenges do you think we haven't mentioned that not even food service, but maybe our clients may face when introducing or increasing the amount of plant-based options?
Well, educating all the chef community when you have to put a plant-based option on the menu. Just being creative, but they have to have the ingredients to be creative, and so hopefully we've helped provide that. There needs to be a change in the way we label the products as well, so that you don't get a reduction in sales. We're working quite closely with chefs to kind of, I suppose, increase in plant protein in different ways, not just seeing it as either you're vegetarian or vegan, or that's it. There are ways of reducing your meat on the menu in different, in more clever ways. So if you're a chef that's been cooking meat-based dishes for the last 20, 30 years, it's difficult to all of a sudden now start to put on 50% of your menu as plant-based. And so it's going to take time. And I think the big part of what we do, for example, is not just supply ingredients. We do support a lot with recipes, with concepts, with ideas, because it's all about sharing knowledge and ensuring that people have the tools to be able to improve their menus the way they want to and meet the sustainability agendas and the price points, etc.
I guess one of the challenges for maybe customers would be like their palatability and also maybe like mouthfeel, the texture. Because I always feel like if you like the texture of meat, sometimes having a bean or a pulse, it doesn't quite scratch that itch. So having maybe the Eat Curious product has a very similar texture to like mushrooms and so on, which is a great alternative for meat in general. By actually trying and just expanding what you'd normally try and eat is probably a good point. And also, like you said with chefs, they all have their kind of expertise or their comfort zone in where they like to be. So sometimes stepping out of that seems quite hard. And we've had quite a lot of pop-ups with yourselves and having some again in the future. And most chefs have said how beneficial it's been because they've known what to do. But having that reinforced and then just having that extra bit of, oh, I remember that now, they start to then think, and their creativity comes back where they start putting more dishes out there and they think beyond what they normally do or what their customer and client base normally wants. And they think, right, they like this, but I can use that cuisine and that product together to make it work for them. So I think that's a great way of thinking about it, is just getting them to unlock that moment for them.
Sure. It's about being, like I say, creative with food. One of the core things that when we were looking at launching our products was, are we going to allow the chefs to basically bring back their creativity skills, be explorative in terms of what they're going to be able to put on the menu, but also ensure that the products do have good texture. So texture is really important. Like you mentioned, you eat with your eyes, the next sensation you get is the texture of the bite.
It's like the number one thing when it comes to eating. Like for a nutritionist, if the person doesn't enjoy the food, they're never going to eat it again. So you have to get the enjoyment right, and then the nutrition and the health will follow. What kind of trends do you see coming into this year, whether it be products or just general behaviours and habits?
I think the products that people will consider to eat will be more based around being clean labels, so having minimal ingredients is going to be really important. There's always going to be a space in the market for meat alternatives. We all still love McDonald's every now and then, and there'll be still a section of society would like a plant-based burger. That's fine, but I think genuinely plant-based food, for it to kind of grow, it will be more focused around healthy eating, having a varied plant-based diet, eating 30 plants or whatever the number is a week. And I feel people will be very conscious of 16 different ingredients in this one product, or is it clean? Is it only a few that I can understand and read? And so I feel like the onus is on us as manufacturing companies, brands, and then obviously the food industry to ensure that we're giving people the right options and the ability to eat healthier. I've seen the change in even my local gym. If you went to the restaurant, you could easily pick up all sorts of different snack bars and effectively forms of junk food. But now they have a focused healthy eating centre where it's all about whole foods. You can have a range of different options. It looks exciting. The menus look kind of colourful. It's almost encouraging people to eat different quality food and better food. And so that's the trend going forward. I don't think the trend's going to be trying to find the perfect fake prawn. I think those days are gone. And it's going to be more about healthy eating and ensuring that the menu generally is more carbon efficient. So more sustainable is really important. I think most of these companies have a sustainability targets, which we need to hit. And that's going to be from ensuring that the products that we also procure and source have a lower carbon footprint. I think that's a really important part of it, especially for the next few years.
Is there anything you think we've missed that's really important to bring to the conversation today?
Plant-based food is just food. It's food that should be healthy. It should be a source of nutrition, and it should be fun. It should be something you want to eat. Making sure people have choice. You still need to give people choice, and you want to encourage people more by educating them, by giving them choices rather than trying to force them to do something. I think that's really important. I think we do need to change the perception of what plant-based food is now in this country, but it's down to us to give people the right options. We have a range of different ingredients and products, a snack range, so a healthy protein-based snack bar. There are certain sites that don't necessarily have the manpower or the kitchen facilities to create a range of plant-based dishes, and maybe the skill set as well. And so we have a range of solutions such as a plant-based tikka masala or plant-based bolognese, which is been designed and created to ensure that it's tasty, it's nutritious, it's clean label, but also affordable. And it allows those sites then to improve their range of plant-based options, and mainly ensure that they're still not only be able to improve the range of options on the menu, but also ensure that they've got a lower carbon footprint and ensure they maintain their price profit.
Literally everything in a nutshell.
Very smart.
So if anybody wanted to reach out and contact you, even organise a pop-up, how would they contact you?
Search on the internet, curious, just drop us an email. We are more than happy to sort of come into site to support catering teams and give them ideas on how they can use our products. Our website will have a section where there's a whole host of recipes using our different ingredients, whether it's the meal solutions, whether it's the dehydrated ingredients. And we have a range of tutorial videos as well that demonstrate how to use our products. We have the ability to help do some pop-ups to kind of showcase to clients that there is a demand for healthy, nutritious, good-looking food. That's different than just the traditional plant-based burger, so we can help with all sorts. So yeah, just please get in touch.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an incredible conversation, and I've actually learned quite a lot from just about plant-based in general. So I really hope that listeners and watchers kind of take that with them as well and learn heaps. So yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
No worries.
This podcast is powered by BM Caterers. Contacting BM is the easiest way to start your journey to a better workplace experience. Click the link in the description for more info.